thank you guys so much for having me here today. I'm usually sitting out there watching going, wow, these guys know a lot, and now I'm suddenly up here. So I hope you're thinking that, because it's true. It's true. I got this opportunity to talk about serendipity, and so the first thing that it made me think of was going all the way back to college. It was 1988. Yeah, I'm that old. And I was going to school up in Rochester, New York. And Rochester was right around the corner from Toronto. So I was studying film and video, and I was focusing on animation. And in Toronto, there was the Toronto International Animation Festival. I don't remember what it was called. I do know that it was a really cool thing for someone studying animation to go see. So I did that. I went around, I went to the Toronto Animation Festival. I was working on my senior film, this hand-drawn cartoon called Fan Around, and it was all cell animation, and I'm like, yes, Warner Brothers, this is what I'm doing. Hand-drawn animation, here I come. And so I went to the festival, and there was all these cell-animated movies, and I'm like, these guys are amazing. And at the end of the festival, this guy showed up. They sort of had something that wasn't scheduled. This guy showed up, and he brought something hot off the presses. And apparently they had just tried to premiere this at this really big animation festival in the States, but they hadn't finished what was called rendering. Never heard of that. They hadn't finished doing that yet, but it was now finished. So the world premiere of this thing, this new animated movie, it was computer animated. It was called Tin Toy. If you've seen that. Tin Toy is amazing. And, so they debuted it, and we watched it, and everyone just went, a computer did that? Wow. How do you get Mac Paint to do that? That's amazing. So it was really cool. But this guy, this Putz, his name was John Lasseter, he was really kind of proud of this. And up to this point, this was a company called Pixar that did it, right? And Pixar, they had done this little animation with lamps called Luxo Jr., but really not much more than that. So after this screening of it, we went down, the after party. Everyone's hanging out in the bar. And I sit down to have a beer, and I'm having a beer, and I'm chatting with some people, and I realize that John Lasseter is right next to me. And so, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. That's that John Lasseter guy. Of course, like right now, you'd be like, John Lasseter's next to you? Back then, you're like, oh, that's that guy with the thing. So, there's this moment, we have a conversation. He turns to me, so are you an animator? I said, yeah, I'm studying animation at RIT. He says, really? Do you do any computer animation? I'm like, no. Oh, no, that's silly. I do that. And he goes, oh, okay. And that was about the extent of our conversation. If this had been an awesome story of serendipity, the next thing I'd be telling you about is the early days of Pixar and how awesome it was. Instead, I went back to Richmond, which is great. I grew up here and I went back to Richmond. But you ever do that? You ever look back and think about these moments? They're like, wow, if I had handled that one differently. If I had met that person, if I had actually said yes, or wow, if I had said no to that date, that would have been so much better. If I had accepted that job. You think back, there's a million what ifs. Boy, I've got a million what ifs. But the challenge of the what ifs, this is the challenge of those what ifs. What if I had gone to Pixar? All right, lots of cool stuff. But you know what? I wouldn't have come back to Richmond. I wouldn't have done the things that I've been doing. I wouldn't have met Terry, my wife. I wouldn't have had my son. He wouldn't exist. This picture of Jasper would be fading just like this one. Like that stuff wouldn't exist. So in a way, that moment that I completely blew off because computers are stupid, that was kind of a serendipitous moment. You think back to that. This is another one. There's one guy in here who's laughing hard right now. Other serendipitous moments from my personal life. So let me go back. The first day of freshman orientation at RIT. I'm there, and in walks this guy. And so it's very important for freshmen to bond in informative and educational ways. And so I and a group of people said, what's your favorite band? And he said, Pink Floyd. And I was like, yeah! That guy and I, we clicked at orientation. We connected freshman year. We ended up being roommates the rest of our college career. He came to my wedding. I went to his wedding. He's in Richmond now. I'm going to say it's because totally 100% of me. Serendipity that this guy just randomly walked in and he becomes one of the best friends that I've had in my life. That's a serendipitous moment. Another serendipitous moment is getting cast in a play. In 1993, I got cast in a play. Really cool. This was The Foreigner. If you've ever seen this play, or even if you haven't, it's hilarious, by Larry Shue. Great play. We did this at Chamberlain Actors Theater, now Cat Theater in Northside. The serendipitous thing about this is that's where I met Terry. That's where I know, it's an awe moment. This is where I met Terry. If I hadn't randomly responded to this audition notice in the paper and gone and gotten cast in this play, well, because of my extreme talent, yes. But if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met Terry. And thus, the picture of Jasper would be fading right now, right? Serendipitous moment. Is Terry here? Why, she is. She's right here in front. That's so when I fall, she can catch me. Another one. I'm not going to make you laugh. I'm just going to make you say aw the entire time. This moment was in 1996. Well, this might be a little bit later. But in 1996, I also randomly saw an audition notice in the newspaper for Comedy Sports. Comedy Sports is like Whose Line Is It Anyway, but it's two teams that compete against each other, playing those games. Right? So I randomly responded to this audition notice. I'm like, you know what? I like doing plays, and I love making people laugh. Improv comedy sounds like a great thing. So I went and I tried out for it, and I got to be in the very first cast of Comedy Sports. I've been doing Comedy Sports now for 21 years. Improv and Comedy Sports for 21 years. Beyond these personal relationships, this is probably one of the most serendipitous moments of my life, that it brought to me improv. Improv is what it introduced into my life. So the first thing that I thought was going to happen was I thought I was going to go do some funny stuff on stage and make some people laugh for a few months, and that'd be it. But I started to learn all these things about improv. And like, what is improv? When I say improv, what comes to your mind? What is improv? Yes and. What else? Making stuff up, right? What? Second City. You're thinking of Second City. Yeah, you're thinking of these things, spontaneous stuff, just being there, being in the moment. Like, it's all these things. There's the definition that I love to use is that improv is a highly refined system of observing, connecting, and responding. Okay, it's this highly refined system of observing, using all of your senses, seeing what's around you at the moment. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you notice about body language? All those things. Connecting. How do you connect with what is happening around you at the moment? And then responding. Find a way that you can respond based on that connection. So that's how improv works on stage. Someone comes up and does something, and you observe what they do, you connect to it, and you respond to it, right? Someone comes up and says, hey, Grandpa. Oh, they called me Grandpa. Let's see. All right, I'm going to be Grandpa. That means you're my grandson. And hello, Junior. So you're going to respond in a way that makes sense, and you're just going to move forward. That's improv. So you guys just did the improv part a little earlier, game before this, the hype man / woman game, where you were improvising. Bless you. She improvised that sneeze. She had no idea she was going to do it. And it just came out. She wasn't afraid of it. You played the game of Hype Man, where how many of you found that to be challenging? How was that a challenging thing? Yeah? Why? Why was it challenging?
Never done it before.
Never done it before. Sure. A new thing. What else?
It's not normal to act that way.
It's not normal to act that way. Which needs to be followed with, son. Outside your comfort zone. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, like, well, how many of you found, like, that was easy? I want to do that all the time. That was easy. Yeah, some of you, you've just got it built in, right? Some of you, doing those improvised moments, that's a great way to discover some things. I'm going to do one more improv exercise with you. It's going to be much shorter, just with pair up with a person next to you or in front of you, behind you, whatever it is. Pair up, and here's what you're going to do for maybe 30 seconds. I want you to tell an improvised story together. But this story is going to be one word at a time. You take turns saying the words. Here's your challenge. Don't go, what word should come next? I want you to just quickly just say, once upon a time, there was a, whatever comes out of your mouth is right. That's the story you're telling. So if it doesn't make sense, it's not supposed to make sense. If it does make sense, you're a genius. All right? So get with your partner and just start telling your improvised story. Go. Raise your hand if you thought that was challenging. All right, vocal creatives. Yeah, there were a lot of hands that went up when I said, was that challenging? Why was that challenging? If you put your hand up, why did you find that challenging? It wasn't what? There was no path to follow? Okay, yeah.
It's stressful to try to create order when it has to be an unorganized thing.
Oh, wow, it's stressful to try to create order in an unorganized thing. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. That's a joke. He said it forces you to listen. Yeah, it does. It really does. It forces you to listen. That's the thing about improv. It helps us with this thing that we are all trained inadvertently. Over the course of our lives, we are trained to make sure that the other people around us know that we're right. Right? You got hired for that job. I better show everybody why. I'm right. I know my stuff. Lots of times working with people, someone comes to you with an idea. Hey, I've got this great idea. Why don't we have this creative mornings thing where people get together? No, I'm going to tell you why that won't work. Like instantly someone's like, well, I've got to show why I know things. But it's an instinct. It's kind of an instinct. What improv teaches us, among many things, it teaches you to turn your brain off. Stop it. Stop your brain from squashing you. Stop that part of you that says, I'd better not try to make sense of this because I might be wrong. I don't see a path, so maybe I'll stand here and not take that chance. Your brain quite often gets in your way. So that's the first thing that you take with you. When you turn your brain off, you're opening yourself up to more experiences. See where I'm going? Yeah, you open yourself up to more experiences like this. The other thing that improv teaches us is to work together as a team. There is a buzzword, I'm sorry to bring it in. Teamwork, everybody. But it makes so much sense. When you work together as a team, there is less of a chance of failure. Not that failure is bad, because we learn a lot from it. But when you have a team together, you are there for those moments of failure. You're there for each other. Working together as a team, that's when I work best with people. This is a picture from ShaveFX. This is a project we did at ShaveFX, my animation company, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't know, years ago. But this is still one of my favorites. What happened is this. We did a parody of Paranormal Activity. We called it Pillow Normal Activity. Thank you. What's going on here is there's this woman who has a brand new pillow, and her old pillow is pissed. So it starts with him going, trying to scare her to wake her up. And then when he realizes he can't do it, he turns into this, oh, come on, kind of a whiny pillow. And he does everything he can to try to wake her up. This is the say anything moment. And he does all sorts of stuff. And of course, it was for a client that makes pillows, right? This is for Sleep Better. What was great about this project is that from concept to completion, the team was awesome. I can't tell you which particular idea was mine. Some of these were, some of these weren't. We did, as a team, we not only came up with, like the client had the idea, we want to be funny, and the client gave us this list of jokes, and when we went, oh, that's great. So, we worked together to come up with a whole bunch of possibilities. Some of them were not safe for TV. But, regardless, we worked together as a team. We worked together as a team to do the live action shoot, knowing that we'd be animating something on the bed next to her from a whole bunch of different angles. We worked together. We all took turns animating the pillow. We had to make sure the pillow looked the same in each scene, but we each did different scenes. We worked together as a team. One of my favorite projects ever. On stage doing comedy sports, we're working as a team. We're actually really, for true, on teams. There's a red team and a blue team. And you're working together as a team to make those moments happen. They're beautiful moments on stage, improv, because you really don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea. Audience throws stuff out at you and they say, like, we paid $10 for a ticket, you better be funny. And those moments happen, and you're working as your team. Your team is making sure that whatever happens looks like it was supposed to happen. In your one-word story right now, whatever word you said, that's the word that was supposed to be there, because your partner was there to make that the case. In improv, you've got your partner's back. I didn't come up with that. You've got your partner's back. That's what just happened in your stories. You had your partner's back. In improv, that's what we do. We actually say that before we go on stage every single time we go do a performance. Backstage, when they're like, all right, are you ready for comedy sports? Backstage, you have a bunch of performers looking each other in the eye and saying, I've got your back. I've got your back. We say it to each other. It's a reminder that it's true. No matter what happens, that we've got each other's back. We're going to make the other person shine. This is a joke for the animators in their room. If anybody uses After Effects and knows plugins, this was just for you. Okay, otherwise, we make each other shine. I'm like, nobody, just me. That's your job. If you make the other person look good, the person that you are interacting with, the person that you are creating a scene with and trying to move forward with, you make them shine, they're going to make you shine. Those moments are going to be better, higher quality. They are going to come more often. There is much less of a chance that you are going to fail. That is the yes and we're talking about. That's the yes and of improv. When you say yes, you accept what's in front of you. Don't say no, because it is. Hello, Grandpa. No, I'm not your grandpa. Yeah, you are when you're doing improv. I have an idea. I think this whole room should be painted pink. Yes, that is your idea, right? Yes, you are accepting what is offered to you. The and part comes when you choose to observe, connect, and respond and build. You're going to build on what was offered to you. So the and part is building with your partner to what the next level is. So you may not be saying yes and let's get the paint. You may be saying yes and let's explore this color in this corner of the room first or something. You work with each other. That's the yes and, the building on it. Taking these concepts and putting them in places other than stage is called applied improvisation. Applied improvisation, there's an applied improvisation network, it's worldwide, from comedy sports, being born 33 years ago in Milwaukee, created CSZ worldwide. CSZ comes from comedy sports because it's so cool to put a Z at the end of a word. But CSZ worldwide is one of the leaders in applied improvisation, taking these skills into the business world. I'm a certified executive practitioner of applied improvisation. That sounds really impressive. I'm just a guy who goes into businesses and can make you laugh and then make you go, oh, I see what he did there. Applied improvisation, taking these concepts into places such as businesses, in any place where you want to work together as a team. We have CSZ Richmond. That's the company. When I auditioned for Comedy Sports Richmond, it was just Christine Walters. She came down from Comedy Sports DC and said, I'm going to start one in Richmond. I played with them for a long time. I became the artistic director. And then around 2010, I became one of the owners. And then just this past January, we decided to shake it up a little bit. Why not? We completely changed the structure of the business running CSZ Richmond and created a new entity called Yes Balloon. Yes Balloon is a new nonprofit entity. And what we are doing is we are bringing the values of improv. We are uplifting our community through improv. That's our goal, is to take these things and to create these moments where they are not necessarily normally seen. For example, last year, we did a program that we coordinated with VCU, where we taught the skills of improv to dementia caregivers. Because when you're working with someone who has dementia, they are not necessarily going to be on the same page as you. They cannot necessarily get into your world. Yes, and gets you into their world so that you can share the world and you can make a shared goal move forward. If that shared goal is just getting them to take their medicine, you do that in their world, not yours. That was a phenomenal program. We worked last year with the Virginia Rehabilitation Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired, teaching high school students who are visually impaired. It's their time. They've never been out on their own. They're graduating, time to go out on their own. We got to teach them self-confidence and how to work with others. It was one of the most phenomenal experiences of my life, working with these kids. And they got up on stage and played some games with us afterwards. It was amazing. Teaching these moments, teaching these improv moments, and changing what can possibly happen from that point. In 1999, I had been working at this place called Metro Video. Some people remember that. It still exists, Metro Productions. But I'd worked there for the entire 90s. In 1999, because my son had been born just a few months earlier, and rendering back then meant you sat at a computer and made sure it didn't screw up. Because if you came back in the next morning and it hadn't rendered, then you have to do it all over again. Still kind of that way, but it's a lot easier. But I took the leap. This was part of my logo for Dave Gow Animations. It said, "Take the leap." It was, don't be afraid to fail. Because that failure, it might happen. Like, I went out on my own. This might suck. Boy, the first year it sure did. I can't tell you the small percentage of salary compared to what I had been making the previous year, and I wasn't rich the previous year. So, you know, it built since then, but so much good happened from that. You know, the moments of failure on stage, that's when brilliant things happen. This kind of looks like a moment of failure. This was actually fun as hell. So, but you know, those moments when you're on stage, the moments of failure are great. If you are a stand-up comedian and you fail, you're on your own. You're standing there with a microphone and the stuff that you already wrote, and you're going, uh-oh, I should have written something else. You know, like that failure is just like, oh, you know that tunnel that when you're watching TV, the tunnel that goes like behind the person, that's that moment of failure. In improv, you've got people supporting you. But the moments of failure can come in other places in your life. In 1993, I had a comic strip in the newspaper called Mulberry Place. I hope you've been around Richmond long enough to go, I remember that. That was my favorite ever. Yeah, one person whistles. Good. It was awesome. That ran, and I wanted to be a syndicated cartoonist. Like, yeah, this animation stuff is cool, but wouldn't it be great to be Bill Watterson? You know, to do Calvin and Hobbes or Bloom County? Yeah, I hear they're not going to be around much longer. I had this successful run in the newspaper for a year till they canceled it. Boom, failure. Like, oh no, you can't do that anymore. And I tried to get it syndicated, to try to get other things syndicated. It failed. But what I learned from that failure is how to do this for myself. Like right now, my cartooning, I still do cartooning. This is how I've been getting through this year. This is just my personal, this is my personal sketchbook. Do what you can. This is, but it's a zen. For me, it's this zen. It's this creative zen. And you know what? I'm really good with that. I'm really good with that. Another failure can be seen as my animation company. You're like, what, Dave, you still run this? Hold on. A few years ago, I built this animation company. I built it up. It went from Dave Gow Animations to Shave FX because Shannon Honaker came on. We went Shannon, Dave, oh, Shave. Now you know. And we worked together for a long time. We got more employees on staff. We had some great stuff going. But at a certain point a few years ago, it stopped working like that. Economies have a way of doing this to you. And I realized at that moment, oh, crap. My business has failed in the way that I visioned it. And we no longer had salaried employees. Everyone left. I said, we're going to start hiring contract employees. Imagine how that would have felt for me. That sucked. I'm telling you right now, that failure sucked. Because at that moment, it felt like, well, now I'm screwed, right? But things that happened because of that failure, since then, like all of these images up there, those are all projects that I've done since then. I've either done them by myself or I've done them with teams that I've built, surrounded myself with people who are able to work independently. I've met clients. I had a wonderful working relationship with the Frontier Project. I worked with them for a couple of years, actually at their place, and I still work with them on contracts. People that I've met because of that failure, it's totally serendipitous. Completely. You can't be afraid of that failure. So I'm asking you to reframe serendipity through the eyes of improv, through this yes and feeling. Reframe it. Serendipity is something like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. Sure, that's really the basis of it. You didn't expect it to happen. But what if you're using improv? What if you use the observe, connect, and respond? What if you're trying to make other people shine just because that's something you've decided to do? What if you're using these basics of improv in your everyday life? Let's go back and reframe some of my serendipitous moments. John Lasseter, that moment with John Lasseter, I'm going to reframe that through improv. Yeah, I screwed up. I could have had a job with him. But guess what? You know, it was serendipitous because I kept thinking about that later and I went, wait a minute, I could do computer animation. That's not a bad idea. Look where it's going. I remember that. There's other moments. People that you meet. For example, people that you meet. When you meet them, you don't know that that's going to be a significant event. You have no idea. It's how you foster those relationships. It's how you, Betty, foster those relationships that get you to realize that that's become a significant thing. These are actual quotes. Those are serendipitous moments. What you do, the improv, the yes-anding of those things. This is a photograph from the audition for Comedy Sports 21 years ago. Look at this, great people. I don't know if anybody know those people. They're awesome people. That's me with the wonderful mullet on the left. It was a glorious mullet. But here's my story about that. Really short. I already told you I got in. You know what? I didn't. The first time, I didn't. I heard, and what they're looking for people to support you. And they want you to be a supporting player, not the guy who goes out and says, look at me, I'm funny, but the guy who supports. That's what I'm going to do. So I did it, and I did a great job, and I did not get cast. And I was like, what? So what I did, at the urging of my roommate, I said, well, call the director. So I called Christine. I said, hey, Christine, this is Dave. She said, who? I said, Dave, the guy who auditioned. I did this and this and this. She goes, oh, yeah. Oh, you're in. Okay. I took the opportunity to pursue. I observed that I didn't get in. I'm like connected. I'm like, I think I did what she said. Maybe I should connect with her on that. I responded to it, and it went in a direction that I actually wanted. It may not have. That would still have been serendipitous. What I'm saying is make your own. Make your own possibilities for serendipity. It's not that you can create something that you didn't expect, but you can create the opportunity for something that you didn't expect. And if you do that in a positive way, those opportunities will be positive moments. I'm going to ask you to do one more thing. Right now, I want you to take a business card out right now. Business card, quick, right on your napkin, right? Write your name and your email on your napkin. Okay. Here's what you're going to do. Keep those cards up because right now what you're going to do is you're going to look around the room. You're going to see someone you don't know. You're going to go exchange your card with that person. But here's the important thing. You are making a contract to have a 15-minute coffee. Why not? Alchemy is right there. It doesn't have to be right now. It can be like in the next couple of months. But say, you know what? We're going to get coffee. You don't know what you're going to talk about. Your businesses might be totally unrelated. but go do that right now. Swap business cards right now. Make your contract right now. Get up. I'll wait. Thank you all so much for having me as a speaker today. You can always find me at davegow.com, davegow.net. I think those are the only two ones, but that's where you can find me. I'd love to chat with any of you, have coffee with any of you. I love coffee.
Another round of applause for Dave, please.